Petworking is presented by H&H Group, a leading market research and strategy consulting firm, helping clients in the pet care and animal health industries navigate strategic challenges for almost 2 decades. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Petworking. I'm Peter Kenseth, Vice President at H&H Group, and I am here today to talk about supplements, pet supplements specifically, an area of the pet care market that is growing exponentially and really has drastically changed the pet care landscape over the last 5 years and potentially even longer. We have not done an episode on supplements here on Petworking before, but we're starting off with a bang. Very excited to welcome with me today the Yvethe Tyszka, the Vice President of Marketing at H&H Group North America, and Bob Kalill, Vice President of Product Development. H&H Group North America is the parent company of Zesty Paws and Solid Gold Pet, and Zesty Paws is a leading supplement brand, the number one supplement brand in the U.S., as verified by Euromonitor. And I figured no better place to start our discussion into pet supplements than with one of the top brands in the market today. So Yvethe, Bob, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Petworking.
Thank you, Peter, for having us over.
Yeah.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yvethe, you know, I think maybe a good place to start, you've kind of witnessed firsthand over the course of your career the growth of the supplements landscape. And I think it would be informative and you know, maybe a good place for us to start our conversation, you know, talking through the changes you've seen in the pet supplement market over the last several years. Obviously, you know, if we go back even 5 years ago, I don't think a lot of pet parents were giving supplements to their pets. It was, you know, probably more something that a vet might recommend, or if, you know, you had a particular, you know, problematic condition and we're looking for a solution. And I think, you know, we've seen it, and like most things in the pet care space, it's driven by human behavior. You know, we see more and more people adding supplements to their diets as a preventative, as, you know, a measure of health, and you know, almost, you know, not just taking your daily multivitamin anymore, but taking very targeted supplements to address specific concerns and promote better health and longevity. And you know, I think that has now crossed over into the pet space to where we see so many brands getting into supplements. And, you know, Zesty Paws has always been right out at the front of the pack. And you've been there, I think you said, since July 2020?
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about, you know, and you know, to the extent that you're able, you know, even before your time at Zesty Paws, you know, how have you seen the landscape evolve, and what kind of growth have you seen during your time in the pet supplement space?
That's a great question, Peter. And one of the things about the pet supplement industry is that for many, many years, it was rather conservative and mostly driven, like you said, by vet recommendation. So there were some brands that came from vet recommendation in very clinical formats that were not super easy to give to your pet, or that were one condition specific. What Zesty Paws did in a very timely way in 2014, 15, 16 is think about transforming the experience of giving pet supplements to your pet into something that would be a bond of love. So if you correlate that to humans, giving a pill to your kids or giving a gummy to your kids is a different experience. You know, your kids are looking forward to this gummy, thinking it's like a candy, and you know it's good for them. So I think where Zesty Paws was able to break through in a different way and grow exponentially was by coming up with this treat form that is also highly efficacious. So the pet loves the taste, looks forward to taking their supplement, and the pet parent knows it's good for them. So we started in Zesty Paws with both a mobility bite and salmon oil. Salmon oil is just an ingredient that is really good for your pet, but mobility was really the first bite that we did with proven ingredients, scientific ingredients, that actually we brought it to market as a bite, as a treat form. And we evolved that to add more benefits and more benefit spaces. And that was right before 2020. So then 2020 happened, and there was a heightened awareness of immunity, wellness, well-being. And what that did is, I think pet parents got a flavor of, it's actually better to stay healthy than to have to become healthy, because during 2020, many vet offices were closed. So if the pet had any potential issues, you really could not take your dog to the vet unless it was really critical. So that actually was an incredible boost to the pet industry, not only because of that in the sense of supplements alone, but also pet adoption went from about 3 to 4 million a year to 11 to 12 during 2020, where I don't know if you remember, but you had to travel like to another state to adopt a pet. It was really like pet scarcity. Many people that never had the time to adopt a pet were able to.
Yeah, I think there were 23 million total adoptions in 2020.
It was really huge. And the other thing that I recall seeing, like when I joined the company, when I joined in 2020, there was a report that came out, I believe it was Packet Facts, that was pegging the industry growth 2 to 5% year over year. And I think that most of the growth was coming from emerging brands and emerging formats on the online space that may have been missed a little bit in the pure scale by the report of the regular traditional supplements that were growing 3 to 5%. So I think at that time is when we triangulated the data, we realized there's a lot more growth in the space, a lot more adoption by pet parents of pet supplementation as they correlate the use of supplements, like you said, themselves to, hey, if there's a multivitamin for me, and there's a gummy multivitamin for my child, and now there's a multivitamin bite for my dog or for my cat. So that, I think, made the adoption easier. And it was more a matter of awareness, of knowing the category existed and availability and being able to find it in many places. And I think that's something that Zesty Paws has been able to achieve to a really good degree on being highly penetrated online, but also gaining distribution in, I would say, most of the places where consumers shop for pet and pet items.
Yeah, when I was talking with your team at Super Zoo this year, we discussed the migration from the online channels, and Zesty Paws starting out as a digital native brand, and it's only been about 18 months that Zesty Paws has really been available in brick and mortar, correct?
So we launched, actually, believe it or not, the week before lockdowns in 2020. We launched at Target, and that year we exceeded our goals that we had for velocity with the buyers, and we were very, very excited at the end of the year. We launched in September of 2020 in PetSmart, initially with a limited number of stores, and less than a year later, we extended to all stores, given by performance. And after that, one after the other, we were very choiceful in how we expanded. We wanted to make sure we could service the retailers we were partnering with one by one, because operationally that entails something, product availability and all of that. But I think we've done a really good job on mapping our growth and making sure that we meet the consumer demand where they're shopping, both online and offline.
Right. A lot of the companies I've talked to in the supplement space have mentioned that supplements do better online, that within retail and in pet specialty, people don't necessarily know where to go to look for supplements. The supplements aisle isn't the first place they'll go to in the store. Is that something that you found, and how have you as you've migrated, you're in Target, you're in PetSmart, Tractor Supply, Walmart, CVS even, I think, in some places. So, as well as independent pet and pet specialty, and neighborhood pet. I don't know if I missed any there. Please add if I did.
No, we're in most distribution, and I think part of what helps is a lot of these retail partners that we've approached or that have approached us. We have a mutual understanding on the nascent nature of the category, and then we have to facilitate discovery for our pet parents. So a lot of times we get off-shelf placement just to make sure that as they walk into the store, they see an end cap or they see a quarter pallet or something like that, where they say, oh, there's supplements. Because once they see it, they are aware of the existence of the category or the brand, they immediately go like, yes, this is the same I take for me. It's a multivitamin. So if you don't get them to discover it in the aisle, which usually happens when there's an issue they're trying to resolve versus preventative, these off-shelf placements have been, I think, instrumental to help just the consumer, the pet parents, find the category and have facilitated tremendous velocity in sales as people then migrate into the aisle.
When you talk about the velocity in sales and the growth and, surpassing goals, what have you seen, year over year with Zesty Paws in the time that you've been there? So if we go back to July 2020, what's been the total growth in Zesty Paws, and, between 2020 and here we are in November 2023, what kind of growth have you seen in total, and what kind of growth have you seen on a year over year basis? We've
seen consistent double-digit growth every single year. Total channels, not only through expansion, which would be, I think, the easiest one to explain, but organically, whether it's same stores or within the same channel already established, we consistently see double-digit growth. So it's been a labor of not only understanding when we enter a channel, how do we facilitate discovery, but also how do we facilitate the repurchase and the actually acquisition of the consumer. Online, like you said, it's a little bit, I wouldn't want to say easier, but the consumer's intentionally looking for something where they search, right? They search for supplements for dogs or anything that they really have already in mind. So it's a place of discovery, it's a place with less barriers depending on how you treat the channel, but you have to have almost proven success or a very strong case to go to retail, and not only to enter, you may get there, is to stay there year after year and deliver growth for both your brand and your retailers. And that's something that we've been able to do since we penetrated in 2020.
Right. I've definitely heard, some brands that have taken, the digital native to brick and mortar approach, like Zesty Paws, talk about that, once you establish that brand online, and whether it's through your D2C distribution or being on Amazon or Chewy, and I know you guys are on in both of those outlets, as well as selling through your website, that once you get into brick and mortar, that almost kind of has an additive effect, as opposed to cannibalizing online sales. It sort of has an additive effect because it just reinforces that brand awareness and leads to more targeted organic search. Would you say that's true?
I would agree with that. I think the consumer, when we've done market research, especially quantitative research, there's an expectation once they know the category and they know it exists, there's an expectation that they'll find it in certain places. And I think that's what we've used as a guide to make sure that our expansion is relevant to the consumer. We know they're looking for pet supplements. We know they're looking for Zesty Paws, and being in the right places where they're looking for these solutions has been key to the success of our expansion. I think it's not impossible for brands to expand. It's actually something that is in every brand's plan, but you have to do it very strategically to ensure success for you and for your retail partner.
Right. And from the conversations I had with your team at SuperZoo, part of that strategic expansion is being very deliberate with the product mix that you're putting in each given store. And so, I think they were alluding to the fact that, there's a larger assortment of the Zesty Paws line available in an independent pet specialty or a PetSmart than there would be in a Walmart or a CVS. You might keep a smaller array of SKUs there, that are more broadly understood, that somebody might just grab during a regular shopping trip, as opposed to somebody who's going to a pet specialty store to specifically look for a given type of supplement that may be for a more unique condition or something.
No, that's completely correct. We know there's a lot of discovery and in-depth search within pet specialty, for example. So they expect to see more options, and the retailer has more options. Especially somebody like PetSmart has north of 30 items only for Zesty Paws, and they've been very willing to bring innovation to their shopper through ingredients or through formats that, because of their breadth of just pet-focused products, they're able to do that, and the shopper at PetSmart expects that of PetSmart. So that has been a great place for us to bring innovation to, as much as online where you have a little bit less barriers. But it is completely true.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at it, it's great to have the options and to introduce your more casual pet parent to a supplement in in the pet section of a CVS or a Walmart, but it's also, you guys have such a broad range of indications and functionalities, within the Zesty Paws line. What would you say are some of your top selling? I know you guys have multifunction, you have joint, you have skin and coat. You're seeing the double-digit growth year over year. Are there particular functionalities or indications that are driving that growth, or does that change year to year? And could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually being pretty consistent. So I can share some of the latest confirmed data that we have. Like for example, we're the number one in multifunctional. We're the number one in itch relief, allergy, immunity, and immune pet supplement, which is one of the categories that has grown the fastest for us. For skin and coat, we're the number one selling. We're one of the top pet supplements in calming. So we have been very intentional in taking these big areas of benefits and making sure that we're bringing efficacious product that tastes really well and that delivers a true visible benefit to our consumer. And that's how we've not only been able to lead all these benefit spaces, but also lead the category, continuing to bring innovation. I think the consumer, the retailers expect us to be at the forefront, and we expect that of ourselves. So besides the traditional benefits, which I just mentioned, I'm sure you were talking to us about what you saw in Super Zoo with healthy aging. That's a new space that is nascent even in the human area. And now we're bringing it to pets because we know our pets are not going to live as long as we live. Their lifespan is shorter than our lifespan, but research after research, both qualitative and quantitative with consumers, they've told us, like, I know my pet's not going to live as much as me, but I want their lives to be the best they can be until the last day and as long as possible. So I think to be able to bring to the market healthy aging powered by Niagen as an NAD precursor to us is just a fantastic gain and product, because it actually meets that desire. It's an emotional desire for them, and we're able to say we're going to help them have better cellular health, extend the quality of their years, and bring a little bit of their puppyhood energy back, which is the campaign that we just launched. Like that puppyhood that is bottled somewhere in there, bring it back with this new supplement powered by Niagen.
Yeah, I was really excited to see that. NAD holds a soft spot in my heart because the first episode that we ever did of Petworking was for an NAD supplement called Leap Years, and I saw that at Western Vet this past February, and I knew what NAD was from using it for myself. I dabbled with it in my late 20s and didn't really notice an effect then, but I thought the science behind it was really cool. And I know we're going to get into the science behind that with Bob in a little bit here. But, that basic, chemistry of, hey, this is going to, NAD plus is what feeds the mitochondria of your cells, the powerhouse of the cell. This is going to promote healthy cellular aging, cellular function. And then seeing that brought to dogs, I think, it was at Super Zoo last year. So Super Zoo 2022, I started to see some supplements making longevity claims. And I said, that's bold. I don't know. I'm surprised that somebody is making a longevity claim. And I don't know, it wasn't NAD based. And I don't remember the specific product, but I was like, that's really interesting that they're doing that. But I was like, isn't that the gold standard, right? Isn't that what all of us want with our dogs or cats is, your time with them is precious. They're only going to be with you for a certain period of time. I mean, we all think of our dogs and cats like, a child, like a member of our family, our fur babies. But, that unlike your human children, you don't have an expectation that you're going to outlive them. And, we've had Peony, you can see here lying on the floor, resting, for almost 7 years now. They think she's about 9 if they got her age estimate right from when we adopted her. They said she was between 2 and 3. And I was so taken with, the idea of, and, Peony and I go ski joring together every day in the winter. I cannot imagine my life without her. And so I feel really privileged that I get to, consult in the pet and animal health industry for a living, because I'm always seeing new things and I'm always like, okay, good. How's that going to improve Peony's quality of life? So when I saw, NAD for dogs and I knew she was getting older, I was like, I need this. This is wonderful. And, it has been fantastic. And, we got a sample of healthy aging and, prior to this episode, and I'm having my neighbor trial that. And I think it's just so great, that companies are making NAD, supplements for dogs now, because you said it very well, Yvethe. It's about quality of time. It's about, we know they're not going to live forever, and we know we all want them to live forever. But if we can make every day that they're with us is, if their years at 15 are as good as, they were when they were 5, that's an incredible gift to be able to give to a dog or a cat. And so I think it's so cool that you guys have launched this. It's really neat. Bob,
and
I don't know.
I can, before Bob gives us the science, I wanted to share a little bit of the consumer, the voice of the consumer. What have we heard from them? So we launched exclusively with Chewy early October and have right now about 102 reviews so far, 4.8 stars, 99% would recommend to a friend. And some of the comments they said, really when I read them, just warmed my heart. My dog seems to have more energy. There's some more pep in their step, or a new pep in their step. They started to jump again. This is their observation. This is not claims that we're making, but I love that they're seeing, like you did, they're seeing a difference in their dog, and they're seeing their puppyhood is back. Because we all remember, I mean, I'm sure you remember when she was 2 or 3, when you adopted her, and she was younger. You're like, you remember how she used to be. And to be able to see even a little bit of that coming back is a gift to pet parents. So I love that. And the science, Bob is better explaining all the science than me because he's a scientist. But I think from a consumer perception perspective, it just warms our hearts as the people that launched this product, the brand that launched this product, to see the pet parents be so happy and so satisfied.
I mean, and I think, I talk to a lot of folks at Super Zoo, and I won't give anything away because I don't think any of it's been officially announced yet. But I had so many companies talk to me about, this is the next frontier. This is the next gold standard. You guys in leap years are out at the front of it, and that's amazing. In such a short period of time, of that only being on Chewy, 102 reviews. But I think it speaks to the fact that this is what people are looking for. I prior to putting Peony on NAD. I have her on UMove for arthritis and joint because she likes to run a lot and, and is out, doing the ski joring with me. And so I want to make sure her joints are well supported. I think anything you can do, the vet recommended that to us. So I guess I'm kind of bucking the stereotype there with, getting the vet recommendation. But, I take plenty of supplements and, I've had problems with my knees. So I was like, yep, I take stuff to help my knees. So I'm going to do it for her too. And I, it's so awesome to have that out there and to get that, that quality of life, that vitality, obviously I don't think anybody's promising longevity with NAD. I don't think anybody's, I don't think we're at the point, or, the science isn't at the point yet where we can categorically say this is going to help you live longer, whether you're a human or a dog, but it can help you age better. It can help you age more healthfully. And I think as we have more time to study it, maybe we will be able to say, this does extend the lifespan. But, I know there's lots of clinical red tape around being able to make that claim.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think, Bob?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think the interesting evolution in the supplement industry, but also, in medicine, is really kind of looking at things from a macro perspective to now a micro perspective, so that we're talking about mitochondria, which is, a component of the cell, is about as micro as you can get when we talk about these things. And so, like with your dog talking about rebuilding the joints, or yourself with your knees, that's already trying to affect a condition that's already degraded. It's a little harder to fix broken things than it is preventative. That's why even allopathic medicine, Western medicine, which was very symptom oriented for so long, is now, getting a lot more interested in prevention, over the last 20 plus years. So this is really kind of where that concept meets the tech world in a way. There's there's companies popping up left and right studying mitochondrial function and really going after that. And so it is very new. So when you go to these shows and see all these companies talking about all these different things, we're just scratching the surface right now. But it's really exciting. I came over to Zesty from the human side of the supplement industry, where I worked for many years. And, just saw so many parallels with the way the products were constructed on the pet side. It seemed like a natural transition for me. And now to be over here and to be working for a company like H&H, which, acquired Zesty, is an incredible place to start, because I had never even heard of NR until working here. And it's because the H&H team on the human side had been working with that for some time. I was really excited about it. Now, me being from the human side, and having formulated products and done innovation and research for many years, I've tried every supplement known to man. I've guinea pigged myself on crazy doses of ginger and, all sorts of different Ayurvedic herbs just to see what would happen. And definitely came to the pet space, like, seen it all, done it all, not that impressed with anything. I know what works and what doesn't. And, and then to be introduced after much goading by a lot of the folks who had been at H&H for a while to try through Niagen, I did, and was amazed by, being well over 40 myself. And I think that's where it hit. So you said you had taken a precursor back in your 20s. I don't think you would really have the experiential thing with that at that young age. It's really and we can get into why that is, but that makes a lot of sense that you didn't feel anything.
Yeah, I did notice it back in my late 20s, but like you said, I unfortunately had some knee injuries, but that really tuned me into the value of preventative medicine. And that's why I've been so proactive with trying to get Peony on things earlier. Is if I can keep stuff from breaking down, if I can get, green lip muscle, if I can get, chondroitin in there and collagen and things like that. And that's the way I approach my health now too. It's very much, let's just stay healthy. Let's take the supplements. But when I saw the NAD for her and started her on it, I said to myself, I was like, Well, if I'm starting her on it, I'm going to kind of do the reverse here. Like if I'm giving it to her, I'm also going to give it to myself. And so I started taking NAD again this April, and it unbelievable, like boost in energy, lost weight, like it was, a real game changer. And so 10 years, I'd love to kind of get your take on the science of, late 20s and, why, and, from a dog's perspective, why what ages you would recommend both for humans and dogs, people start taking NAD. And, you mentioned also, Bob, I'd love to get, some clarification. You mentioned NR and True Niagen. Are those synonymous for the NAD precursor?
Yeah. So
okay.
True Niagen is a brand name made by Chromadex, and nicotinamide riboside is the ingredient itself.
Okay.
But those are the same thing. So if we say True Niagen, that's what that means. But if you look at the mitochondrial chart of these precursors and energy and all that, you would see NR in there as one of the cofactors. So that's we can use either one, whatever makes more sense.
No, I just wanted to make sure for people listening that there wasn't any confusion, because I was going through in my head. And the NAD precursor I take is pterostilbene, I think, and that's Elysium. So I know you mentioned, the science is really evolving, and that there are different NAD precursors, and would love to kind of get your take on some of the different ones that are out there, and the benefits of using one versus the other, or maybe even switching them up. Because at the end of the day, it's all about increasing the reuptake of NAD, right?
Right. So that's it. And I think it is early enough that we're not sure. I mean, Chromadex has put a lot of money into research around NR, and they're convinced that's the one you want to go with. Now that's their ingredient, right? But that's the one we've had great success with all across our business. So when you talked about, energy, when you started taking the precursors again, your energy going up and maybe some weight gain impact, that all makes sense, because if we start right at the beginning, or weight loss, if we start right at the beginning, the reason those things happen in the first place as we age is those processes within the mitochondria that are generating energy just get slower. I mean, you almost could say, if we want to oversimplify it, aging is that process getting slower, period. I mean, that'd be the simplest way to say it. So if there's a way that we can ramp that back up, at least theoretically and conceptually, that's the closest thing we've come to a fountain of youth concept that I've ever heard of, and a lot of the data does show across many different species, not just humans, even though a lot of the research is on humans, that in all species, that when NR is taken, some of the other precursors, that process does speed back up. And so what that means is the cells are repairing more quickly, they're handling challenges more quickly, and they're avoiding things that might come up later, theoretically. So that's really exciting. And I mean, so like you, when I started taking it, I had some pretty noticeable, I think anybody well, let's look at it this way. Who would take it? If you're a sports fan, you'll notice that most professional athletes,
yeah,
they start to not perform as well, depending on the person, because we all age differently. 34, 35, 36, 37, somewhere in there. That's when, you've reached your peak and physically, and you're starting down the other side. And what in the root of that is probably the slowdown of the mitochondrial process with the energy uptake. So that's around the time it would make sense to start taking something like this to ramp that back up. But I think the older you are, the more impact you might perceive. Now, for maybe anybody, I'm not sure how far back this would go, but I've heard anecdotally from a lot of people who have jet lag, or are just challenged in other ways where they're not sleeping properly because of travel or whatever it is. They're noticing when they take, and it's not a buildup thing, it's immediately if they take a relatively larger dose than the one a day of NR, especially, they just feel rejuvenated, in like in a clean way, not like a caffeinated jittery way. So that's been pretty consistent. So it's really exciting. When we talk about the supplement industry, one of the ways I talk about different products is basically you're either taking a product because it's experiential, you're directly feeling an effect of it, or you're taking it as an insurance policy, but you don't feel it. But you get, in terms of the academics of it, it makes sense to take this as a preventative or for whatever application you're talking about, but you're not feeling it directly. This is one that for some people, and certainly for me and for you, as you've described, it's something that we feel when we take it. And it is as simple as, the mitochondria is the engine, the NAD plus is the fuel, and the NR is getting that fuel burning more efficiently again, and things are speeding back up and you're feeling it. So it's pretty amazing that way.
Right. It's kind of controversial, right, Bob? I know there's still a lot of physicians out there, and talking more on the human medicine side of things, that will say, the supplement industry is unregulated. You really have to be careful what you take. I remember, when I was taking Elysium back in my 20s, and I was telling my primary care about it, he was like, I don't know, it could just be snake oil. And, eventually, I was in my late 20s. I wasn't really noticing a difference, and it wasn't cheap. And so I stopped. But now taking it, when I saw it, for peony, and now that it's coming into the animal space, and, I doing, the science obviously has been out for more than a decade, but like, it's becoming pretty widespread. I see statistics now where lots of physicians are taking this. Lots of physicians are taking NAD for themselves. You see professional athletes. I don't know for a fact, but I've heard secondhand that LeBron James takes it. It would not shock me if Tom Brady took it, given that he was able to play competitively well into his 40s. But, and I will say, from what I've seen with Peony, it's, I've seen her run as fast, and we're not even in ski season yet, and she likes to run on snow more than anything else. But I've seen her take off and run and, chase. She never chased squirrels, and soon after starting on NAD, she was chasing a squirrel. I think there's just so much potential here, and I'd be curious, because I've heard, in other conversations I've had around NAD, that it also improves cognition, it improves sleep patterns. There's lots of different potential positive effects that you could see, both from a human perspective and in your dog. And I know I've heard that some folks are going to be developing this for cat as well. So
yeah. I mean, as an emerging a set of emerging ingredients, it's really important to have proper safety data, things of that. I haven't seen any for cat yet. I have seen it for dog, so that's why we were comfortable with it for dog at this point. And when you dig into the data, especially on NR, as we have, it is affecting performance in all different areas, brain, heart, lungs, muscle quality, endurance. And if we take it back to the core of what we're talking about, that it's this generative mitochondria energy piece that's driving everything at the foundation. So you're really going to the core of everything. So everything is benefiting from that in the organism, at the cellular level. So that's what's really exciting about it. We started talking about how trying to fix broken things from the outside in is really difficult. This is really going to the core of everything and just speeding back up, in theory, repair. If that energy is flowing more quickly, and getting to where it needs to go, everything functions like it did in a state that was functioning better before. And so that's why we feel like it's almost an anti-aging thing.
Sure. And now with the healthy cellular aging and cellular repair, I've also heard that this NAD can help with eliminating senescent cells or zombie cells or cells that have mutated to a point where they're not functioning correctly, and so that you're promoting healthy cellular division of your best quality cells, so to speak, and that a lot of the aging process is when you have these senescent cells or cells that aren't functioning as proper as they should, dividing and replicating, and then you get these zombie cells that are proliferating throughout your body. Could you Could you offer your opinion on that?
Yeah, well, I think it just feeds back into that the energy uptake, and when that's faster. So if we think of those old movies of folks working in industrial America on a line, and the widgets are coming out, and the line keeps moving faster and faster, and they can't keep up with the widgets. I mean, that's kind of what happens when your mitochondria slows down, when those processes slow down. You can't keep up with that conveyor belt. So if you're speeding that back up, you can address those things as they're coming at you, like you did when you were younger. And I think that kind of overlaps into what you're saying. You know, the zombie cells and all that's just our immune system is dealing with and correcting, you know, thousands of things, if not millions of things per day that are going awry. I mean, that's part of the function of the immune system. So if you're optimizing the energy that can be dedicated to those processes, especially after it's slowed down, that's all going to improve in real time.
Very cool. Very cool. And I guess, you know, to kind of wrap it up. So, you know, we have the mitochondria, which is fed by NAD, and your NAD precursor is going to increase the levels of available NAD in the body so that can be taken up by the cell and fed to the mitochondria. That's pretty much the basic metabolic biologic process that we're dealing with here. Is there any, I know you alluded to it when we were talking earlier, but is there a benefit, you know, from switching precursors? You know, if you went from like a NR precursor to a pterostilbene precursor, and I know there are lots of other precursors out there that maybe haven't been studied as well. Is there, you know, a potential benefit to, you know, shocking the system, so to speak? And like, how often do you have a recommendation for how often people should switch their precursor to drive, you know, continued high levels of NAD production? Can the body get acclimatized to a certain precursor?
I think that's a great question. The short answer and the long answer is I don't know. It's so early. I don't know, but it is different than, like, if we're talking about inflammatory pathways and like an injury condition, there can be a lot of different pathways that can be affected with different chemistries. With this, I don't know that would be the same approach to, and again, I have to qualify this. I don't know, but this process is so cyclical with the precursors all involved in the cycle that just optimizing the cycle itself is the important thing. So switching between one or the other, I'm not sure that would make things better. I think there's probably an optimal push coming from one of the precursors. That's probably the better way to do it in terms of how our physiology works. But maybe that is a thing. Maybe you do need to switch up to keep the body or the cells guessing or boosted in different ways. But I haven't seen any data about that. I think that's a fantastic question, and it's something I'm sure you know, researchers are looking at now. Maybe we'll hear about in the coming years.
Yeah, I would imagine it's probably also entirely possible that different dogs or different people might respond differently to different precursors based on their individual body chemistry.
Could be. Could be.
So,
and it could be as simple as absorption. You know, one precursor may be absorbed better by one species than another. But we don't know right now. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool though, like, you know, that we are seeing results. So, you know, that you mentioned, you know, 102 reviews, and you've only been on Chewy for a month now. Has it even been a month?
About a month and a half, 6 weeks.
Wow. And from what so you're exclusively on Chewy now, but it will be available through other channels in the coming months?
Yeah, starting January 1st, you'll see it on Amazon and Independent Pet.
Okay. And are you selling it directly through the Zesty Paws website as well yet, or are you guys holding off on that?
It's also on zestypaws.com.
Okay, so folks can get it on Chewy or Zesty Paws right now, and come 2024, they'll be able to purchase it on Amazon, PetSmart, Petco, or
I think initially will be more Pet Independent Pet.
Okay,
where they will be able to find it.
Very cool. And what can folks expect to pay for healthy aging right now? I imagine listening to this, there's probably a lot of people out there that want to see their dog experience these benefits.
So right now, the product that we have in Chewy is the NAD pill with a pill wrap, which is a probiotic pill wrap for $59.97 for 60 capsules. So 60 doses, so depending on the weight of the dog.
Okay.
So for $59.97, you can start.
Cool. And we're not going to announce the exact discount yet because we're still working it out, but I think we will be able to offer listeners a discount if they want to try it. So we're excited to be able to bring that to you. I know we're getting to just about the end of our time here, Yvethe. Bob, this has been fantastic. Yvethe, I wanted to kind of close. You mentioned earlier, I think you said Packaged Facts said right when you were getting to Zesty Paws that they expected between 2 to 5% growth in the supplements market year over year. How much has that prediction just been shattered? And what would you say the total market size of the pet supplement space is right now? And what do you see as the year over year growth of the market?
So I can tell you it's been completely shattered, completely shattered. I think, again, it was a little bit understated from the perspective of the most visible portion of the market at the time was retail, right? And retail had a little bit more of your traditional brands, more like clinically looking brands. And I think that we've been able to transcend that a little bit. The current growth that we're predicting is low double digits, sorry. So overall in the market, obviously led by online, but also there's a ton of growth in retail. So right now, we believe that the market at the end of this year is going to be close to $2 billion, and it has grown this year about 15% in 23. Wow. So that's where we're going to end the market. And I remember at the time, the projections of growth of size of market were about 700 million, which is why we said it's not possible. It's not possible that it's that small, just based on even our own sales. And we expect it to be close to 2.2 by the end of 24.
Wow. With you guys as the leading brand based on Euromonitor calculations.
Exactly.
Wow. That is impressive. And just to wrap up, I did, I'm looking at the Zesty Paws website here right now, and I'm seeing, the probiotic bites. And I know, Bob was mentioning getting down to, the micro level of medicine. One of the things we hear so much about and that I think is just going to take off, in the next few years is the microbiome. It already has to a certain extent, but I'm kind of curious, do you feel like there's an opportunity, to partner with some of these direct-to-consumer diagnostic firms out there? You see firms like Animal Biome where they, you can take a fecal sample and mail it in, and they'll send you an analysis of your pet's gut health microbiome. I know they make their own supplements, but I think there's also utility there for brands to validate scientifically validate, not just anecdotally through observation, but for people at an individual level to scientifically validate the efficacy of the supplements out there. Is that something you guys have on your roadmap that you are considering or would consider at all in the future?
I think it's a really interesting and a really good idea. I think what I love about that is that somebody that buys a product like that is highly interested in knowing about the microbiome in their pet, so they have more of a interest to learn, to see a difference in their pet and how different strands of probiotic impact the gut health of their pet. So I think it's a great idea.
Cool. Well, I think, from where we are at, 5 years ago to now, the landscape of supplements has shifted so much. And, we see, you guys out at the front of the pack, and, other great supplement brands, out there, continuing to innovate, whether it's new forms, whether it's new functionalities, indications. I think, we see the double-digit market growth, and new entrants coming into the space, and new exciting developments like NAD coming out. I think it's a fantastic time to be in pet, to see these innovations, driving improved quality of life, improved health for our pets. And we really look forward to continuing to see what's next, and really excited to hopefully get some of our listeners using NAD, and ensuring that their dog's ears are of the highest quality. So thank you guys both for joining. And I don't know if you have any final words, parting thoughts.
I think on our side, I'm really glad that you had us over, Peter. I'm excited to continue to share the Zesty Paws Healthy Aging Supplement as our innovation. We're excited to have your listeners try it as well. And we're sure they're going to have an excellent experience, just like the 102 reviews that we already have. But we're very grateful that you had us over and invited us. And we'll continue to be in touch to share our innovation with you and your listeners as it happens.
Great. Well, thank you guys both so much for joining. On behalf of Yvethe and Bob, this is Peter Kenseth, Vice President at my Strategy Group and founder of Petworking. Really appreciate everyone taking the time to join us for a great conversation on the pet supplements market today. And we'll look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care. Petworking is presented by Maya Strategy Group, a leading market research and strategy consulting firm, helping clients in the pet care and animal health industries navigate strategic challenges for almost 2 decades.